This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. And now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne. And good morning, Larry Proetti along with Nick Proetti, and we start off our program as we get closer to the November general election. Matter of fact, we were 3 weeks and a day away from the general election, and one of the candidates that is vying for Laramie County Sheriff, he's running on the independent ticket. We will talk with Jeff Barnes this morning. So, Jeff, good morning to you, and let's get the Jeff Barnes resume, and then we'll go into a myriad of questions for you.
All right. Well, Larry and Nick, really appreciate you inviting me today and give me an opportunity to address a variety of things with the citizens of Laramie County. First thing I tell people that I'm a cop. I'm not a politician. So if you're looking for a politician, you got to certainly look elsewhere. But my resume, I think it's varied quite a bit with experience. I did 21 years with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, obtained the rank of lieutenant. But I held multitude of different positions there. As a K-9 handler, academy instructor. One of the most important jobs that I held, I was appointed to be the commander of operational planning and emergency management to handle all of the police resources for every significant event that transpired in the city. I've got 32 years in the United States Air Force, 4 active, 28 in the Air National Guard, retired as a Chief Master Sergeant and Fire Chief. So I got the police command experience, I got the fire command experience. I spent over 2 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, embedded with the 82nd, the 101st, doing intel work with those guys. And I also have a multitude of different security management positions that I've held. I was security manager at St. Louis Science Center, security manager at a pharmaceutical company, and then finally general manager for a large security firm before moving here and joining the Sheriff's Department for almost 5 years as a resident deputy.
All right, let's go right into the crux of the conversation here. Again, a very popular sheriff, a 5-term sheriff,
Yes.
Who is retiring. Again, you work for the Sheriff's Department. Why now are you throwing again, you threw your hat in the ring.
Yeah.
Why do you want to become the Laramie County Sheriff?
Well, I'll tell you the reason why is because, like I said, with my wide experience that I have, I want to make sure that we preserve the lifestyle that we have out here. I believe with my experience, knowledge, skills, and abilities, working in a major metropolitan area, I've seen neighborhoods and communities decline because of lack of support for the police, defund the police, letting crime take hold and let lawlessness do that. And I certainly don't want that to happen because we have to value and maintain the lifestyle that we have out here. So I bring a fresh perspective and new energy to that position.
Well, and something that I give kudos to you, Jeff, and again, I've seen your campaign, seen the signs across, whether it is Laramie County or again the city of Cheyenne, but, again, in this day and age of politics, where again on election, it's, hey, you're either Team A, Team B of Republican or Democrat. You, with the interesting move of at least declaring yourself as an independent, why the choice of being an independent, why not running on the Republican or Democratic side? What was the decision behind at least putting your hat in the independent column?
No, and I really appreciate that question because I'm a strong constitutional conservative, but I truly believe that the position of sheriff should not be nonpartisan because my job is to make sure that I focus on crime that impacts everybody in Laramie County, and politics should not enter into that specific role. My job is to, like I said, focus on the crime and run that department as efficiently as I possibly can.
Let's talk about currently in the Sheriff's Department, things that you see that are positive and things that need to be addressed when you step in.
Okay. Well, first of all, like I said, I'm the only candidate that has spent any time in the Sheriff's Department, almost 5 years. We got a really great employee staff there, from civilian to deputies, and a lot of times people forget about the civilian staff. So we've got a lot of expertise right there. But the things that we really need to focus on is recruiting and retention. We've had a multitude of people leave within the past year or two. And it is sort of a morale culture problem that we have there. I don't want to go into all the details, which I know, but we need to make sure that we retain the quality people that we have there, and we need to recruit quality people.
Now, you mentioned those that have left per se morale? Again, obviously you can't be a rah-rah type of sheriff, but again, when you say morale, what's the problem? I mean, are they not being compensated enough? Is it not being patted on the shoulder enough? What is your take on that?
Well, a lot of the folks there don't feel that they're valued. And we have to make sure that our staff is well respected. We have to reach out to them, because if they have buy-in to a multitude of different programs and policies and stuff like that, then they're going to certainly do the work that we need them to do. I'm going to have an open door policy. My thing is management by wandering around. I like to meet with the individuals where they actually work instead of having them come into my office. I'm the type of guy that likes to roll up my sleeves, get in there and get dirty with them. So I think that's the things that folks are looking for, is to be respected and valued, and that their opinions matter. And certainly I don't know everything, so I'm going to reach out to them, because these are the folks on the front line. They know the work, and I'm going to trust them.
The last time we had Don Hollington, and again, representative of the jail, again, at least with the sheriff's department, talked about, again, he at least was able to get some sort of compensation, or at least get that pay raise, at least finally to the department. But again, he said it, at least in his words, again, was not enough, at least what he thought was at least fair compensation. If you are elected into that at least sheriff position, Jeff, is that something that you want to tackle immediately to get that competitive pay raise here, especially in Laramie County, to get, again, as we talk recruitment, hey, money's going to definitely be a number one, at least kind of topic for a lot of these recruits to come here to Cheyenne, or at least Laramie County.
Well, I tell people, thank God it's election time, because like I said, I was a resident deputy. The past couple of years, I did not receive any pay raise. So thank God it's election time that they did appropriate money and give it to the staff. But the problem is we have more issues to contend with, because there is no pay matrix. So individuals that have 20 years on got like a $1.28 pay raise. The administrative staff got a 19% pay raise, and people with 5 to 7 years on got a substantial pay raise. So they're making almost the same amount as a 20-year deputy. So now you've got the older deputies and staff that have been there for a while. They feel cheated. So we have to have a pay matrix or a step plan to make sure that everybody's being rewarded properly.
So outside of, very quickly, again, where we talk at least compensation, recruitment, trying to get, again, kind of boots to the ground, at least in the sheriff's department, which, again, we've talked about a couple of years now. It's something that hopefully gets at least resolved, as now we're past the pandemic, things kind of settle down here in this country. But, outside of that, though, again, getting the numbers to at least fulfill the department, what other issues are we dealing with right now, at least in the department, that you want to address immediately out of the gates if you are elected to that position, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is, again, making sure that our deputies are safe with the proper equipment? What's the other issues that you see that need to be addressed?
Well, one of the first things we're going to do is I'm going to have a complete budget analysis to make sure that taxpayers' monies are being spent wisely. The second thing is command staff are going to be out on the street, so that's going to be 6 to 7 individuals immediately that's going to be out there, because the things that I hear most from the citizens is visibility. They want proactive policing. And the thing is, when I was in the Air Force and St. Louis Police Department, I was out with my men and women all the time, because leading from the front, it's imperative, because that way we have the COPS program, community policing. You're out there with the citizens. I usually ask, when was the last time that you've ever been to a town hall meeting with the sheriff's department? And I get crickets from everybody. So we're going to start having town hall meetings, because it's imperative that I'm out there listening to the citizens, finding out what their concerns and complaints and stuff are, and addressing them. But like I said, recruiting and retention is the big one. Recruiting, we're going to have a very robust recruiting program. We're going to do what we call the vets to cops, just like they did in Vietnam when folks came back. Those programs are valuable, because veterans want to give back to their community. We're going to start the reserve deputy program again, because it's imperative that we get additional people out there. We're going to reach out to Laramie County School District 2 to see if we can't get a reserve deputy, or at least a full-time deputy, out at the Burns High School and elementary school. So there's a multitude of different things that need to be addressed in the Sheriff's Department.
We're talking with Jeff Barnes, independent candidate for Laramie County Sheriff. Jeff, let's talk about your main competition right now. And again, not to throw one of the other candidates, under the bus, but we haven't heard much on the Democratic side. So it's you versus the Republican candidate, which we've had in here, Brian Kozak. Brian, a very popular chief of police. I think, going by the primary numbers, again, City of Cheyenne still recognizes his efforts. Let's talk about differences between Brian Kozak and Jeff Barnes. And again, you're on the front lines at the Sheriff's Department. Of course, he was the head man of the police department in Cheyenne up until a year and a half ago. So let's talk about, or a couple of years ago, let's talk about the differences between you. And again, not political parties, but just philosophical differences.
Okay. Well, and I really appreciate that because first thing I want to thank Boyd Reed and Don Hollingshead. What had happened, we had talked at length, and we believed that they kind of split the vote, which allowed Kozak to win the primary. So if one of them would have dropped out, I think one of them would have been the winner. But I truly appreciate their endorsement and support. So that's number one. They have decided that they are going to support me because they do not want my opponent to be in the position of sheriff. So that's the number one important factor that I was able to help negotiate that process. Number two, I think, like I said, I got a wide berth of experience, more so than, my opponent, because I have the police command experience. I was the only one that's ever stepped out of a command position to get back into a patrol car to listen to the citizens of Laramie County and serve them directly. I'm the only one that has the military experience besides Jess Farquez, which we haven't heard from. I'm the only one that has any private sector security experience. Like I said, I'm the only one that has actual boots on the ground here in Laramie County. So I'm the only person that has any inside knowledge of the jail and the Sheriff's Department. I didn't have to go around asking people what those issues are. So those are just some of the things that kind of separate me. And the thing is, if people remember that the mayor did fire my opponent from that position.
I think of when I first got to Cheyenne back in 1986, and one of the nice things was when I moved into my neighborhood, and now where I currently live, in my neighborhood, I've got Highway Patrol, I've got Laramie County Sheriff, I got Cheyenne PD cars parked in driveways, which is a nice thing, the visibility. Then I'm also thinking right now, well, where my tower site at is in Hillsdale. How are you going to address the fact that we got a lot of square mileage here in Laramie County? How do we, again, people always think Laramie County Sheriff, even though the county seat is here in Cheyenne, but you still got about 40,000 other residents that you need to keep an eye on as well. How do you get that attention focused to our county residents? Because, again, you're a Laramie County Sheriff.
Yes. Well, going back to me being a resident deputy, I rode all 2,600 square miles of this county, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the ranchers, the business people, citizens, those type of folks. I've talked to a multitude of individuals since I've been on the campaign trail. A lot of people are willing to come back to the Sheriff's Department that have left, and if they've left in good standing, we're certainly going to bring them folks back. So I know of at least 6 people that's going to help tremendously. We have talked to a multitude of people that want to be reserved, whether they are prior law enforcement, EMTs, or military, so they're willing to be resident deputies living out in those communities. So I think if we get those properly trained, equipped, and plug them into the community, for example, out in Burns, I got a gentleman that's prior law enforcement. He will work all the football games and basketball games for me, and he will be on call. So I think having those individuals out there, and then, like I said, doing that robust hiring program with the veterans, because they still want to serve their community.
Will there be satellite offices? Again, there's a lot of empty buildings all around Laramie County, unfortunately. But again, are those buildings, are there a possibility that you can go before the county commissioner and say, hey, we'll pay X amount of dollars every month, rent, for example, and we'll base Jeff Barnes in Carpenter? Are those entities available to us?
Well, like I said, as a resident deputy, we do have a substation out in Burns, right across from the mayor's house, so he knows when we're out there on a continuous basis. I had every one of the codes of the firehouses throughout all of Laramie County. They are very accommodating because I'm huge on interagency collaboration, which we have not really had a lot of that in the past. So the fire departments are willing to let us use their facilities. But like out in Burns, we had to have our IT department come out there and run some lines and everything where we can take our mobile data terminal from the vehicle and plug it in and actually do reports and those type of things. So I think the fire department, they have the facilities there that we can certainly do something like that.
Jeff,
and
I want to
save money.
Jeff, I want to get into at least crime stats right now, where at least the police department here in town, again, recently came out about a couple months ago saying that from years past, again, here, at least in the city of Cheyenne, crime has gone down. Now, we've seen a bit of uptick in some of kind of more of the aggressive, at least violence, whether it is Cheyenne and including Laramie County, and I know shooting, stabbing as well, too, happening out in the county. But, again,
drugs, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, drugs have definitely been an uptick here in Laramie County. But, again, there have been folks during this time frame that have said, hey, Cheyenne and Laramie County is now becoming a sanctuary city, sanctuary county, that, again, crime is, again, not what it seems. It's starting to uptick here. What are your thoughts? Again, you've been on boots on the ground. You've been out there. You see what happens here in Cheyenne and, again, throughout the county. Is that the reality? Is stats higher than we think, lower than we think? I mean, are we really as bad off as, again, where you've been at in St. Louis?
Well, and I know from reading a lot of the press reports and everything, like I said, the mayor had replaced my opponent because the crime statistics, I don't believe, were completely accurate. So I think they're being reported properly now. So crime statistics are going up, but the root cause is certainly drugs. We have a fentanyl problem here. We have a meth problem. Of course, we're close to, Colorado with the marijuana, and the potency is not the potency of the 1960s. That THC level is certainly higher than what it is now. So I think the drugs is one of the root causes, because with that comes theft. And we do have a lot of increase in theft, and a lot of the stuff that happens with the shootings and stabbings and stuff are retaliatory because of narcotics.
You mentioned that you have the endorsements of former Republican candidates, Don Hollingshead and Boyd Reed. Let's talk about the folks that you're talking to, not Cheyenne. Let's talk Laramie County. What are their concerns? Is it what Nick just mentioned, crime stats, or what are their concerns that you have to put boots to the ground immediately?
Well, out in the county, certainly the visibility aspect of it, people are awfully concerned. Just talked to the mayor of Burns the other day, and we are going to get rid of that contract out there, because he's the only one that is paying for contracted law enforcement services. Carpenter, Burns, Albin, there's a multitude of different places that we go to that we don't charge people. So I don't know why Burns is being the only city that's being, singled out. So it's imperative that me and my command staff get out there. So we are going to reorganize the sheriff's department, because right now in the night watch, you have no command rank working. So there will be command rank working on the night shift, because a lot of things transpired during the darkness. So like I said, we're going to reorganize that sheriff's department. I'm going to be out there on a daily basis, meeting and greeting people and finding out what their concerns are and get that visibility. Because like I said, out of the 6 or 7 command staff vehicles, none of them are marked. And if they're properly marked, at least people will start seeing a few more vehicles out there than what we currently have.
Something that the sheriff's department also too is at least overseeing and in control of, again, the jail here in town. Again, we've talked with Don Hollingshead, especially as representative of the jail, talking about the new programs that are going to be enacted, especially regarding mental health, to kind of rehabilitate these inmates, at least to make sure that they are at least right to become back citizens here in the city of Cheyenne, or again, wherever they may return. But again, at least let's get into it, Jeff, of what are some of the issues that you see with the jail that you want to improve coming out of the gates? Or is the jail right now, especially as we implement these new programs, are we pretty much happy with how things are operating with the jail?
Well, no, there's always room for improvement. If you remember years ago, the federal government and state governments used to fund mental health facilities. They stopped doing that. So a lot of those people with mental health are out on the streets. So policing the mental health is a very significant thing. It's been pushed off on law enforcement. Like I tell people that the jail has now become the new asylum. We do not have a mental health policy down there right now. So I've been talking to a multitude of doctors and psychiatrists that are willing to come in and write our policy for us and train us, because, like I said, we're not psychiatrists. We cannot administer drugs. We took a pod and renovated it for mental health, but we are 27 people short at the jail right now. So that pod is not being utilized for mental health. So there's a multitude of things that need to be corrected. Matter of fact, after we finish here, I'm going down and taking a full tour of the jail with some of the jail staff down there to talk to them about more concerns. And I'll be coming out with my jail policy very soon.
You know, Jeff, as we mentioned in the county concerns, let's talk about City of Cheyenne. And again, you know, I even think of a Pine Bluffs where they have a police department as well. So again, Laramie County Sheriff adds more muscle to the Pine Bluffs Police Department. Cheyenne PD, again, you see them cruising around. You see Laramie County Sheriff cruising around. That's a good thing. What are the concerns here in Cheyenne, again, besides all of the other crime stats that we had mentioned earlier?
Well, the number one thing that I go back to is the interagency collaboration. The Sheriff's Department and Cheyenne Police have not played well in the past years, and that culture starts at the very top, which was kind of created by my opponent, to be honest with you. But now we have a new chief of police, Mark Francisco. Him and I have become very, very good friends. He's a retired commander out of Kansas City. I'm retired out of St. Louis. So we know a lot of the same individuals in Missouri. Him and I have talked at length, and we know we could have a very, very strong collaboration, because the same criminals operating in the city are the same criminals operating out in the county. So now we got a new superintendent coming in with the Highway Patrol from Maryland. So my thing is to establish that interagency collaboration, because with intelligence sharing and stuff, I think we could certainly start getting a handle on some of the crime here.
You know, you talk about getting together, and it sounds good
Yep.
on paper, you know, and what you're saying on the microphone. How do we get both agencies? Because, again, we go from whatever, 90 cops and X amount of sheriff and deputies to a big number. How do we get these folks all on the same page?
Well, first of all, we're going to do like we did in the military. We're going to have tabletop exercises, because that doesn't cost very much money except for maybe providing lunch. We're going to bring in a multitude of different organizations, and it's not just law enforcement, it's the community as a whole, because a lot of times people are operating in silos, but we need to make sure everybody's operating on the same sheet of music. So if we can start doing these tabletop exercises and start preparing, because during an emergency is not the time that I need to hand you my business card. We should have already met, know each other, know the resources, the capabilities that we bring to the table. And then once we get proficient at them, then we could actually go out and do practical applications. For example, active shooter at schools. We need the staff there. We utilize the schools, but nobody's there except for law enforcement. So we need the staff there, not necessarily the kids, but the staff. It doesn't have to be like the Three Stooges when we show up. Everybody should know what their roles and responsibilities are when we all respond, whether it's federal, state, or local.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and
Trying to look for that again keyword of harmony between the departments.
Yeah, that I think all law enforcement should be.
I think the only thing, if Jeff gets into this position, which again got to go through that general election, but it seems like the only argument between the police department and deputy might, or at least sheriff's office, might be again when the Royals and the Cardinals might play again. Again, that might be the only issue.
The I-70 series.
Yes.
All right, well, real quick, Jeff, and we give you this opportunity like we did with one of your opponents. We give you that opportunity. There's going to be no red light, so there's no 2 minute, or we're going to put a clicker on you. Give us your last campaign speech for those folks that are still on the fence, or maybe haven't made a decision yet, or maybe you can attract one from the other. Tell us a little bit why they should vote for you as Laramie County Sheriff. Again, 3 weeks and a day to go.
Yes. Well, like I said, once again, really appreciate you guys allowing me to come in here. I do not need this job, but I bring a wealth of experience, knowledge, capabilities, like I said, with my police command experience, my fire command experience, my military experience, my corporate security experience, and my actual boots on the ground here. So I am going to be dedicated solely to the citizens of Laramie County. I'm not going to be seeking employment elsewhere. I'm not going to do anything to try to enhance my resume. My job is to focus on the citizens of Laramie County, try to get the crime under control, because I don't want our way of life to change. That's why we moved out here. We love it out here. I love serving the people of Laramie County, and I want to be your sheriff. So I would ask that you'd certainly take a look at our website and our Facebook page. because it has a plethora of information on there for people to make an informed decision.
And the
So-
web, the
yes,
web page.
feel free. Yeah.
Yep. JeffBarnesforSheriff.com.
That's a pretty simple drill right there. Well, Jeff, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. This is KRAE Reports, a week in review. We'll be back after this break.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there.
Heather's arm is in motion, but she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Treat your taste buds to a warm bagel at Mort's Bagels with your favorite cream cheese. Perfect for the office or perfect at home. Mort's Bagels are always made fresh and delicious daily. They are perfect for breakfast and lunch too. Did I mention perfect? For 3 decades, Mort's has served us with amazing bagels and customer service. Ask about their specialty and seasonal selections too. They even deliver. Mort's Bagels. Treat yourself today. 1815 KRAE Avenue, downtown Cheyenne.
As your life changes, so do your banking needs. At Platte Valley Bank, we offer a wide range of services for your individual banking needs, as well as solutions to help your business be successful. No matter how simple or complicated your financial needs, we have the products, knowledge, and resources to help you achieve financial success. Experience the difference. You belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Wisdom, expertise, compassion, qualities that are the foundation of Cheyenne Urological, with their experienced doctors and their highly trained staff providing top quality treatment for prostate cancer, urinary tract infections, kidney stones, impotence, and incontinence. You can trust Cheyenne Urological to give you the highest quality urinary care. Now offering the latest in robotic surgery, call Cheyenne Urological at 635-4131. That's 635-4131.
It's always nonstop excitement when you visit one of our 3 locations of Wind Me Down. Inside the Outlaw Saloon on the South Greeley Highway, the Cheyenne Plaza, and at 1345 Delrange Boulevard, next to Culver's and Office Depot, where we offer many new machines and also have plenty of food and drink on hand in our spacious Delrange location. The action is always fast and furious with our pari-mutuel wagering from the nation's tracks and our pari-mutuel machines, which offer many different and fun games to play on. You can become the next big winner here in Cheyenne. Make sure to take advantage of all the promotions that we offer too. So come on in today and bring a friend to enjoy a lot of fun and excitement at Wind Me Downs in the Cheyenne Plaza, inside the Outlaw Saloon, and at 1345 Delrange Boulevard. Open 7 days a week. For more information, go to wydowns.com.
For almost 60 years, 1480 KRAE has been Cheyenne's home for good times and great oldies. Add to that live play-by-play sports featuring high school football and basketball, along with LCCC men's and women's basketball. Now combo that with KYOY FM, and you have Cheyenne and the area's only locally owned AM and FM radio stations. But we don't stop there. We also have 2 FM translators which serve the area with programming from both KRAE and KYOY. And that equals a lot of bang for your advertising dollar. Radio yesterday and now today, along with our websites, web streams, and digital ventures, makes us your one-stop shop. For more information, please call Larry Proetti at 307-637-0301.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
For today, sunshine, expected daytime high near 61. Tonight it's going to be a clear sky, low down to 30 degrees with widespread frost developing during the early morning hours. Tomorrow, Tuesday, sunshine once again. We're calling for a daytime high near 65. And for Tuesday night, a clear night, our low down to 38 degrees. Well, welcome back to KRAE Reports of Week in Review. Larry Proetti along with Nick Proetti. I get to play musical chairs. Karajanis will be joining us at 12 noon. She is running for, he is running for Ward 1 City Council, and he'll be going up against the incumbent Scott Roybal. And again, you know, as you look at the upcoming election here, 3 weeks and a day, again, the 3 incumbents were all successful in the primary. So again,
Ward 1, though, again, you look at the numbers from the primary, especially regarding Cameron and Scott. Again, it was something where it might get interesting in the general, where there's enough votes to push Cameron over that at least edge to gain that Ward 1 spot.
But
so,
it's interesting.
again, there were a few other write-ins and also to at least another opponent as well.
But it's interesting to note, though, again, all three of the incumbents won in the primary. And again, too, we always hear in the city of Cheyenne, change, but yet we always decide to go back to the norm. And
and again, nothing against some of the folks on the city council, but again, you look at Pete Laybourne. How long has he been in that position? Again, Dr. Mark Rennie. Again, how long has he been? And again, he's been there. It seems like since I was a kid. Again, we got a lot of familiar. Even again, a former
Scott Royball's been there for a while.
Well, again, a former at least employee here, or at least a former friend as well. Unfortunately, again, passed away a couple years ago. Again, look at Jimmy Valdez. Again, how many times he was reelected into his position on the city council. So, but again, that's what people kind of get in that comfortability, or at least, again, familiarity. And, folks here in town don't really want that change outside of if it's pretty much of, hey, that incumbent steps away from it. So, again, it'd be interesting to see if this and other ward seats,
what fresh perspectives are going to be brought
what could be, changing again, especially here in Ward 1. Again, in this battle, there's enough votes to sway it where, again, at least Cameron could go over Scott. Again, who knows? Again, interesting to see how the general election will go. Very quickly going back, and appreciate Jeff Barnes coming in, giving his perspective on the independent side. So, again, we have talked with Brian Kozak on the Republican side, Jeff Barnes, again, on the independent side. Again, do want to mention that, again, I have reached out to Jess Fresquez on the Democratic side. Again, did deny requests to at least join us. They'd send out kind of a little press release about his stance, which, again, we did address a couple weeks back. So, but again, we have at least covered at least Laramie County Sheriff, giving everyone a fair opportunity to join us here on KRAE Reports. Unfortunately, again, Jess will not join us just due to at least he kind of denied the request.
All right, real quick, another thing that we brought up here a couple weeks back was incorporating some more county pockets into the city of Cheyenne, which I said, it was going to be more than,
It was more
done.
so what we talked about was that citizens, at least those county residents, were basically outcrying, saying, hey, we don't want this, pretty much stay away. We want to still be county residents, where the city of Cheyenne, including Mayor Collins, and again, Mayor Collins also responded to that outcry, were basically saying, hey, with our ward surrounding a good, at least percentage, and I forget what the percentile was, I think it was about 75%. Hey, if you are surrounded by at least what is city of Cheyenne, we're
bringing you into the process.
Basically, it's like we have that option to do what we want and bring you back in, or bring you into the city. So it sounds like, again, it's going to be moving forward, which is going to be a hotbed topic of conversation, especially for a lot of these city council members right now that are on. Again, how does that affect the general election if, some city council members say, hey, I'm for it or I'm against it? See how this could sway things, especially because right now this is starting to become a very hotbed topic.
Again, what it does is it increases population, and it also increases more Fed dollars. So again, there's
taxes, but again, it also at least it gives services out to those county residents itself. Again, now with city fire, police, all that good stuff. So, again, there's benefit, there's bad to it. Again, whatever's the aisle you see on it, but right now it's becoming a hotbed issue that, again, it's interesting that it's happening around general election time, especially for, again, all three wards have at least have representatives who are in right now, again, will be participating in that general election. So again, is it something that we see those folks kind of dethroned and new fresh blood in because, again, hey, city of Cheyenne, or at least residents, are unhappy with the decision to annex?
Well, see, and here's the deal, though, Nick. Since 1986, since I've been here, and you were born, 1990?
There you go.
I look at it this way. I very rarely have seen the city relent to the county. Basically, they found a county pocket. They annexed it in. And again, the city council,
essentially, it's just good old fashioned eminent domain, is what we
eminent domain to a certain degree. They, hey, we want it. We're gonna here's the deal, like you said.
And yeah, there's no,
It's encompassed. It's encompassed in an award, and they're saying, you know what? We want you. You got to come in.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, the reasoning behind the annexation as well for those county residents, especially because, again, it's more affecting kind of the south siders around Orchard Valley, and again, moving on down that at least Highway 85. It's a scenario that for city services to operate, hey, we have to pass through this county, or at least this county line, where to at least not alter those city services, whether it is trash, whether it is police, fire, on and on. It's something that, hey, we need to annex this piece of land so it doesn't disrupt our services to other at least city residents out there. So, again, it's an interesting, and we've talked about it a couple weeks back when, again, there was that hotbed conversation, or at least when those residents in the south side, or at least in those county pockets, were upset about this, at least news that, again, I see it as it is unfair to those county residents who, again, chose to be in the county for a reason. They're happy with being in that county. If not, again, they had the opportunity for however many years that they've lived in this part of the world to move into city lines.
Think about
I see it, again, that it is government overstepping on citizens' rights,
it's
especially county residents.
It's local government saying, hey, we are the top dogs. But again, you mentioned, and let's go out to about Terry Ranch Road out on 85, okay? The growth from there into the city of Cheyenne. So let's go south-north, again, into the county of Cheyenne, or Laramie County. But again, they're part of the Southside Water District. They don't want to be part of the Cheyenne Board of Public Utilities. But, again, like I said, I hate to say this, it's all about the dollars. And don't kid yourself that it's not about the dollars.
Well, again, for trash, for sewer, for water, for, again,
but
taxes,
you're not bringing in. You're not. Again, I'm just going to use Terry Ranch Road. You're not bringing everybody in from Terry Ranch Road. You're bringing in this certain area, this certain neighborhood, and again, this area is still going to remain county. Again, I don't know who draws these maps. But it's like,
well, and again, I have the updated map here in front of me, at least regarding the wards, where if you can imagine, again, LCCC, they're part of the county as of right now. Again, that kind of College Drive loop out there is surrounded by wards 3 and 1, but again, they are still in the county. So, will LCCC be absorbed into the city, which again is beautifully ironic. Again, a community college known as Laramie County Community College would be absorbed into the city of Cheyenne. But again, it's pretty much that Orchard Valley, that south side, that College Drive aspect that is, again, in that county pocket. That sounds like that is one of a few pockets of the county looking to be retained into, again, what would be city of Cheyenne, and then having to alter the wards, whether it will be Ward 3 or Ward 1, that will gain that, at least those new neighborhoods and areas. But, again, looking at the map, it's pretty much of, there's a big old pocket of land Ward 3 owns down south that, again, does not have residences, not yet, but could down the future. So,
but has land that is
it's lucrative for businesses, for again, homes. Again, there's nothing there right now.
For whether it's business or homes,
Yeah, so again, looking at least county map, or at least city map, which again, you can go online, CheyenneCity.org. Again, you can find it on the city government website to find this. But again, going back to, again, what is the topic of annexation? It's a tough. At least for me personally, you feel bad for the county residents that are at least about to get absorbed into it. Again, it sounds like it's going to happen, that this is inevitable, that especially where I do believe, if not last week or 2 weeks ago, again, city council did hold at least an open forum for those county residents to speak upon, again, this annexation. But it sounds like even with that, sounds like Mayor Collins and the city council is moving forward with this no matter what. So kind of prepare yourself. But again, for me, it just has that feel of government overreach and overstepping to, again, just use their power to say, no, don't care, mine.
But it also tells you another thing, too, and again, it kind of runs underneath, that the city council, mayor, 9 members of the city council, those 10 people are more powerful than our Laramie County commissioners.
Yeah.
The 5 of them. So again,
Which again, that position also too is up for election as well too in the general.
yeah,
so.
but again, like I said, and I had coffee this morning with a buddy of mine. It's interesting that aside from the sheriff's race and a couple other races, this is the most unattractive November general election coming up here in our part of the world.
Like I said, the primary was the general, plain and simple. But now, like I said, at least here on the local side, and I will say again, with Laramie County and again now the city of Cheyenne, especially with the city council, all 3 wards having a representative, at least a battle, at least for that. This annexation topic that is coming at least an interesting time close to that general election, it now makes it more intriguing. Again, the sheriff's race we knew was going to be intriguing no matter what. Again, will it be Barnes? Will it be Fresquez? Will it be, again, Kozak? That is up in the air right now. That is a hard one to judge of who's going to be our Laramie County sheriff. But now, again, with this annexation topic and moving forward with it, I think it now makes the general election for at least here city council that much more intriguing. And also, too, for, again, county commissioner as well, too, which, again, is up where those county residents, do they go after, who is currently in seat, or do we now get an incumbent in? I think now this all came at an interesting time where we, again, a couple weeks ago said, hey, the general election is kind of a little boring outside of the sheriff's race. Now it's starting to pick up a little heat, especially here in Cheyenne.
Well, if you're trying to get the electorate to the polls, do you get the county residents to come on out? Yeah. Well, again, the folks that have been moved on to the general election are the same crew that's on the county commission right now, including the county commissioner who's in charge of the county commission. So, again, what are you going to do? You're going to complain to your county commissioner. Again, they're not as strong.
Yeah, they can't do anything.
Yeah,
that's the unfortunate thing.
The Cheyenne City Council, basically, and the mayor are the ones that are control. But as you're talking about this annexation, and let's just say the annexation happens tomorrow, for example, or it's a done deal, do you think people are going to remember it when they go to the polls November 8th? Nobody cares.
I think so. I think this has garnered enough attention across the city of Cheyenne that, again, folks are paying attention
to this. But the city of Cheyenne, which has the bulk of the voters, really don't care. Think about it. The Laramie County voters, who are what, about a fourth of the city of Cheyenne.
I hope that, again, city residents, though, realize that, again, what the city council and, again, including Mayor Collins is doing right now, which, again, in my opinion, and hopefully, again, a few other folks share that opinion, that, again, this feels unfair to those county residents, that this is, like I said, this feels like government overreach, even though, again, they have the legality, they have the option to do this, but it does have that feeling that, again, here it is, government overstepping and overreaching, saying, hey, don't care, mine, I'm taking it.
Let me ask you this, and again, I know we need to take a break, but real quick, we live in Ward 3, okay? And just for argument's sake, it's not going to happen, but just for argument's sake, that Laramie County Community College got absorbed into Ward 3. Do you really care? As a Ward 3 resident, do you really care? No, you don't care. It don't matter.
I mean, I care to an extent that, again,
how it was done.
And I think that's the issue right now.
And how does it affect you? How does it affect you that Laramie County Community College is now in Ward 3? Again, I'm not saying that's happening, folks. I'm just using that as an example.
Well, what is it affected? Again, it adds more tax revenue, and hopefully, again, in theory, it will bring more money to improving projects. Again,
is it going to lower my property taxes?
Who knows? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that, again, at least, what does it do to me? You would think, in theory, that it would at least could improve city life, especially with more added, at least, revenue into the city. Again, more tax dollars, where, again, it could improve services, whether it is fire, police, whether it is water, sewage, all that good stuff. Again, in theory.
So you still.
But I just think, though, again, in practice, though, again, how the city is going about doing it, it's dirty. I don't like it.
Well, see, what you do is you steal from one pot
pretty much,
put it in another, and you leave the other pot half empty. What are you going to do then?
Yeah.
So, and you got to fill it. And once you fill those reserves up again, there comes the city, and they're going to steal some more of that pot. It just, like I said, I've seen this game for 36 years, and it doesn't shock me anymore.
But it seems like, again, as of right now, this is something where folks are alerted to, again, whether it is city or county residents, that, again, a lot of folks, or at least it seems like, again, majority of those county residents not too happy about this. And it seems like, especially reading some on the social media side, reading some comments, that some city residents as well too not too happy of how the city, the city council is going about doing it.
It's a grab. It's always a grab. Land grab. We will be back. We're going to take a break. You are listening to KRAE Reports, and we can review. We're back after this.
It's Lee at Absolute Flooring. Are you planning on new flooring soon but are hesitating due to the latest financial news? Let Absolute Flooring help you out. With a great selection of all types of flooring and a large array of styles and colors, plus our commitment to make your purchase the most affordable, it's time to stop in at Absolute Flooring. And with no interest financing in place, why not make your way now to 3573 East Lincoln Way and visit us at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store. Absolutely.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So today's your 18th birthday. Hey, Bobby, pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I've got my whole life ahead of me. School, then a job. I've been waiting for this day forever.
And when will you be registering with Selective Service?
What? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'll get around to it someday.
Someday?
Yeah, like, whenever I get around to it, like, I don't know.
Well, Bobby, if you don't register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday, you can lose out on college loans, job training, and government jobs. And then you'll be, like out of luck.
Bobby, where are you going?
I'm just gonna get online for a minute, then I'll be right back.
To register with Selective Service, log on to www.sss.gov or stop by your local post office.
There. Are you happy now?
Very.
Family-owned and operated Lennox Auto Body, along with the Auto Glass and Detail Center, has been serving our community with quality and customer satisfaction. It's a pretty simple drill. When you want it done right the first time, call Lennox Auto Body for an appointment at 307-634-6608. Lennox Auto Body at 1020 Dunn Avenue. And the Auto Glass and Detail Center. Remember, it's not clean until it's Lennox clean at 617 East Pershing Boulevard.
Lennox Auto Body. No shortcuts. No compromise.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these Super Radio buys, heard only right here. Don Julio's 70th Anniversary Blanco Tequila, 750 milliliter bottle, $69.99. St. Brendan's Irish Cream Liqueur, 1.75 liter bottle, $24.99. And Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer, 24-pack, 12-ounce can, $16.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader.
1480 KRAE is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 KRAE features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 KRAE, also streaming the games worldwide on the web at 1480krae.com.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
For today, sunshine expected, daytime high near 61. Tonight it's going to be a clear sky, low down to 30 degrees with widespread frost developing during the early morning hours. Tomorrow, Tuesday, sunshine once again. We're calling for a daytime high near 65. And for Tuesday night, a clear night, our low down to 38 degrees.
Well, we got time for one more item here to tackle before we bring on our next guest. Again, Cameron Karajanis is running for City Council Ward 1. He'll be going up against the incumbent, Scott Roybal. We'll have a chat with him coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. But, some of the things that go on nationwide, Nick, you think, never going to hit in our part of the world. But the FBI has put out a warning now of increasing sextortion cases here in Wyoming. And again, these sick individuals, most of them, and let's be real honest, most of them are not in this country. That's what's even worse. It's kind of like whatever you get here on computers and what have you. It's all from foreign countries.
Not necessarily.
Most of the problem.
Not necessarily. Again, a lot of these cases are coming within states, coming from residents that Again, pretty much again going after minors and basically entrapping them. It's kind of a it's a take on blackmailing essentially for their nudes. Again, where it's pretty much you hold these minors into again, without going into details, which again, yeah,
it's targeting boys too.
Yeah, but again, it's targeting minors just in general. Again, not just only boys, but again, females have been at least targeted as well too throughout the at least states. But it's essentially blackmailing of, hey, you did something wrong, or at least, hey, I caught you in a trap. Now in return, so I don't tell on you or report you to the authorities or blah blah blah. I want this in return, and more than not, it's nude photos that again get sent via email, via phone, whatever it may be. So it's essentially a disgusting way of blackmail, and again targeting at least teens, minors,
and blame this. Here's another thing you blame on COVID-19, because most of this stuff happened during the pandemic when kids were home,
locked away. Yeah,
and that's the sad part. Again, you're online most of the time, and these sickos, as far as I'm concerned, these predators just came into play, and you know what? Unfortunately for a lot of our young people, they didn't know any better, and they bought into this stuff, and now they're being held at ransom, and that's the bottom line. They're being held for ransom,
and it's definitely an issue with how how available this day and age with teens having cell phones, the access to the internet, again, who they may talk to. It's a scenario that, again, with the TikToks, with the Facebooks, Twitters, again, there's so much social media, so many avenues to get lost in and get trapped in. That's the issue right now. But plain and simple with the FBI and, again, a lot of authorities as well, too, especially here in the city of Cheyenne, Laramie County, across the state, are basically saying, again, the best thing you can do, especially for your teenager, whether, again, boy, girl, whatever it may be, is monitor, be that kind of parent to monitor and make sure who they're talking to, whether it is online, whether it is via text. It's pretty much you got to be a hawk to an extent to monitor and make sure that they're safe, that, they're not talking to the wrong person. That's going to put them in this position that, again, in this, what is becoming a very heinous and growing crime across the states.
Well, and the reason too, these sickos out there, they're targeting more and more boys, ages 14 to 17, because there's an assumption that they won't report the exploitation, whereas young ladies are going to go right away and say, "Hey, guess what? This is what's happening." But the guys are I guess it's the embarrassment factor that they're doing these things. And again, too, like you said, it as I'm reading here, it is a worldwide problem.
But it's something that is, again, where
it's taken off.
Wyoming and Cheyenne is not immune to this, that it is happening here. Probably not on the same rate as some of the major cities or, again, across the globe. But, again, it is starting to creep into the Cowboy State, especially here in the Cap City, that, again, FBI, CPD, again, a lot of law enforcement agencies are just saying, hey, keep an eye on this. Make sure to monitor. Again, there are ways to, again, put up, those kind of at least parent blockers on websites or, again, via chat.
How effective are they? Not.
They can be.
They're not.
They can be to an extent, outside of if you would have someone like me that knows how to get past them, or, again, especially with a lot of the younger folks, at least nowadays, again, more in tune with technology, or, again, I didn't get a cell phone until I was junior high school, where, again, folks, at least some kids are getting, cell phones that are well far advanced of where we had in the early 2000s to, again, now into the smartphone. So there are ways to work around, but there are, same with those workarounds, there are higher technology blockers to at least prevent websites at least being, visited by your teenager, or, again, trying to monitor, again, who all texts. There are ways out there. You just got to be diligent and do your research.
Well, and parenting in the 21st century has really taken a different turn. And again, I'm one of the last.
Well, especially with social
I'm
media.
one of the last of the baby boomers.
Yeah.
So I'm from the generation where Pop worked, Mom could work, but Mom was stay at home. Okay, and then as you were born, along with your sister, both parents were working. but we always had somebody there to make sure that you were always taken care of.
Yeah.
Whether it was grandma or we had you at a facility to take care of you after school. In today's day and age, and I hate to say this about younger parents are not inquisitive enough of their children. They're
Some might be. Again, I'm not gonna pigeonhole everyone.
Basically, look at a 2-story house. You're on this upper deck, and they're on the lower one, and you're like, hey, they're okay. I'm not too worried about it. But that's just it. What goes on behind closed doors right now, parents are not in tune, and they need to be more in tune with their children.
And I think absolutely, again, especially in this day and age, with again the ease of access to the internet, again with social media, that can be just as terrible for any age group at this point in time. Again, it just depends on what avenues you go down into social media, but it is something. Yeah, again, I think plain and simple is for parents this day and age. Again, especially for your teenagers as they move into that kind of at least slow step into independence and having their own things. That again, you got to be very careful as again it's springing up stuff like this again, sextortion of blackmailing your child and getting nudes in return because, again, they're being threatened to at least be reported themselves for whatever accidental mistake they did online. So it is, it's do your research, do your due diligence, keep an eye on. Don't have to be overbearing, but it is be aware that things like this are happening just because of what the times are.
Well, and the thing is too, and I wish we could turn back the hands of time. But I think what parents need to do, and again, believe me, I'm not the perfect parent. I think you're going to agree with me on that. But again, I think we need to turn back the hands of time. You get home from work, whatever time you get home, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and dinner is set for 5:30, 6:30.
Yeah.
Family needs to sit down at the dinner table, and instead of having the cell phones there, and and I know this has been said thousands of times.
Yeah.
But you need to have some discussions at the family table. That's what it's there for. Hey, talk about your day. Don't, Dad had a tough day at work. Mom had a tough day at work. School was tough, blah, blah, blah. But you need to do the old family discussion thing again.
Or find a way to adopt that again.
And put the cell phones
But I'm
away,
just saying,
the technology
or either
away.
find a way to adopt that again. Realize the times that you're in again with the technology that again there are sick avenues every which way, every social media site. That again, just be aware. Again, do your research and just try to prevent this as the best that you can. Which again is becoming a growing trend. Not even just in the States, but again, starting to rear its ugly head here in Wyoming.
All right, well, we're going to take a break. Our next guest, Cameron Karajanis, who is vying for City Council, Ward 1, he will be joining us next right here on 1480 KRAE.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
Capital Lumber is number one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, painting, tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. We're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is number one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Remember, for all your lumber and hardware needs, stop at the family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The coin shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The Coin Shop, a dealer you can trust, 510 West 16th Street.
The next time you have a craving for authentic Mexican cuisine, visit Guadalajara at 1745 Del Range Boulevard. Locally owned and operated, they serve their dishes with family tried and true recipes with the freshest of ingredients, made to order. Start off your meal with their complimentary chips, salsa, and bean dip. And if you're feeling adventurous, enjoy your favorite margarita or cerveza. Guadalajara, where the spice is always nice.
MHP is a certified public accounting and consulting firm located in Bow, Cheyenne, and Fort Collins, offering accounting, tax, and consulting services to businesses, not-for-profit, government, and individual clients. MHP takes pride in their commitment to providing close, personal attention to their clients. They also continue to invest time and resources in continuing education, state-of-the-art computer technology, and valuing their relationships with you. MHP is a proud supporter of local and UW athletics. MHP, 314 West 18th Street, or call 634-2151.
Community is more than a place. It's a feeling of belonging. At Platte Valley Bank, we are passionate about the communities we serve and the people who live in them. Just like you, we are everyday people who contribute to our community and believe that together we can make a difference. Visit us today at www.pvbank.com. Experience the difference. You belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Cowgirl fans, get ready for an exciting basketball season under new head coach Heather Ezell. Cowgirls are coming off a great postseason run and look to carry that momentum into the 2022-23 season. Ticket packages are available now, all at prices that fit your budget. Don't miss any of the action as the Cowgirls return to the Arena Auditorium this fall. Renew or purchase your tickets today at gowyo.com/tickets or call 307-766-7220. We'll see you in the Arena Auditorium for Cowgirl basketball this season.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
For today, sunshine expected, daytime high near 61. Tonight it's going to be a clear sky, low down to 30 degrees with widespread frost developing during the early morning hours. Tomorrow, Tuesday, sunshine once again. We're calling for a daytime high near 65. And for Tuesday night, a clear night, our low down to 38 degrees. It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. Now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
And we welcome you to hour number 2. We get to talk with one of our city council candidates. Matter of fact, as we were talking about annexation, we'll hopefully chat with him a little bit about that too, get his thoughts on it. But we're talking with Cameron Karajanis, who is running for City Council Ward 1 as he finished second in the primary this past August to incumbent Scott Roybal. And Cameron, real quick, let's get the resume on you, and then we'll start drilling you with question after question here this morning.
Awesome, sounds good. So my name is Cameron Karajanis, born and raised in Cheyenne. Some of my professional background, I've worked in the nonprofit field. I've worked in the for-profit field. I'm currently a high school basketball coach out in Pine Bluff for the women's program, and then I'm also a football coach here at McCormick Junior High School in the fall. Some of my experiences that make me a good candidate for city council is I have grant writing experience, I have multi-million-dollar budget experience, volunteer retention, volunteer recruitment, employee retention, employee training, as well as juvenile justice and everything like that. So.
Cameron, not your first rodeo at vying for city office. If I'm not mistaken, you tried for city council here a couple of years back, if I'm not mistaken, or a few years back?
Yeah, I did. I ran for city council for Ward 1 2 years ago when Councilman White and Councilman Laybourne's terms were up.
So, and I'm kind of like you where... And no, I should say I'm not like you because I decided not to do it again. I just figured I'll be behind the microphone here and gripe and moan about stuff. But I look back to 2012. I ran against names that got reelected. I look at your situation over in Ward 1, go to Ward 2, and go even to Ward 3. We're just not seeing the turnover of city council. Why are our wards, and again, I'm not going to just single out Ward 1, but why do we retain the same people? Why do we not want fresh ideas on the city council? What is your opinion?
I think the biggest thing in me going door to door and everything this year when I ran and during COVID year, I didn't do any door to door stuff because I didn't want to push that issue and everything. But this year going door to door, a lot of it is people told me, well, I just didn't know who you were. So I voted for the other candidate because I knew
Voted for name recognition.
I knew the name and
Well-
everything, and that's the biggest thing.
Well, and again, we look at the primary election results again between you and Scott. Again, there were a few other folks as well too trying to get in that top 2 position for that Ward 1 at least seat. For you, Cameron, again coming in with 1,100 votes, again Scott with 2,000. But looking at again votes available, there's enough to push you over that edge if you knock on enough doors in Ward 1 to at least get you that at least nod into Ward 1. Primary election results, did it surprise you? Is that what, at least at 1,100, was that what you were expecting, a little lower? What were your thoughts on this primary election?
I was expecting not that many votes. I didn't make it to a bunch of neighborhoods that I wanted to, and everything. And this year, go around, I'm actually pushing harder for the general election and everything. I was surprised by the vote count and everything, and how many votes are available moving forward.
Is there any worry, and again, we talk about the primary, especially this year, especially where we saw on the congressional side with, again, Hageman and Cheney, again, where that was kind of front and center, that was the election on that side here in the state of Wyoming. Is there any worry where, again, we talk about the numbers and how many folks showed up for that primary, that it might trickle off, that might hurt some of these general elections, that, again, hey, the primary was the main election. Do you have that concern, that worry?
For the local races, not so much. For the national ones and the state ones, I do have concerns that that's going to drop off a little bit. The local ones, I think, are pretty steady.
Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong. The avenues, downtown, south side, pretty
Yes.
much Ward 1. So, again, you got difference of opinions from the south side to the avenues, but, again, doors that you have knocked on. Besides the citizens and shaking hands and introducing yourself to the citizens, tell us a little bit, going from south all the way to the avenues, what are you hearing? Because, again, you are representing Ward 1 in addition to the city of Cheyenne. What are the concerns for our ward?
One of the biggest things is people keep telling me is our councilmen that represent them are unreachable, and that's across the board. My biggest concern is if I don't get elected, is that trend is going to continue. Even in the avenues all the way through the south side, it's that voice. It's being able to reach your councilman. I'll give a perfect example. Councilman Johnson does a great job with his ward, and he's reachable. I mean, as a resident of Ward 1, I reached out to my council members on issues affecting my neighborhood and stuff like that, and I still haven't heard anything. It was a 4-year debacle. So that was the biggest issue, is our council members supporting and being reachable for.
You know,
is there any concern, talk about concern, especially with Ward 1 that does encompass downtown, and again, where downtown is developing, has its empty buildings, and also is dealing with, again, the homelessness problem right now, again, vagrants. CPD is trying to address that as well too, same with the jail right now. But have citizens kind of come up to you and said, hey, that's kind of a trend that, or at least an alarming situation that, hey, we need to find some way to fix that somehow?
Yeah, a lot of it is questions have been asked of me is our police department fully staffed? Is it fully funded? Is our fire department, EMT, hospital, and everything? I haven't got too many questions about the homelessness issue and everything. But of the questions I tell them what CAMIA is doing as a assistant director for the CAMIA shelter here in Cheyenne. I tell them what we do to work with the jail, what we do to work with CPD and everything. One of the biggest concerns for the south side is there's so much push for the West Edge projects. There's so much push for that and everything. The south side is not getting the attention that it needs and everything, especially with 6 penny projects. The Johnson Pool, for example, yes, the voters approved a 6 penny and an engineer to look at to see if Johnson Pool needs to be replaced or whatever, but there's no money to rebuild if that's the case.
Well, that's the thing I've always noticed too, going to a lot of city council. We spend more money on studies than we do getting results. Thing too, and I recall, and it's still an eyesore today in the downtown area. And again, the former WRO, Mary's Bake Shop, and again, another building that's becoming an eyesore is the Heinz building. Things that you've walked by, driven by many a time, and you said to yourself, what could I do better? Have you looked at, well, we got a big fence around a hole in the middle of the downtown. things that you have ideas on, or is that something where you have to get together with the entire city council / mayor to try to come up with a solution? Do you have a solution?
I think the biggest thing for the whole and the Heinz building is I did a forum a few days ago and was told by a current city council member that that building in the whole has been purchased, so it's no longer up for sale. So it's been sold. I will point out that 6-penny ballot this last go around, there was wordage in the 6-penny. I can't remember what prop it was, but there was money in the wording to address the whole.
Which again was a project that Mayor Collins spoke with us of in trying to build more parking, or at least another parking garage downtown. But again, it still has
But Cameron, do you have an idea for that hole?
I would like it as almost an addition to an eat-in kind of park outdoor area. Throw some outdoor lights. I know City Council has approved speakers to play music on 17th Street, so incorporate that a little bit. But a nice little seating area and everything, because you have a complex there. You have the Met, you have Ribbon Drop, you have Freedom's Edge and stuff like that, and all those businesses right there. A small place to gather with some greenery and everything. I mean, you have the Depot Plaza and stuff. There's some greenery with the splash pad and things. Or if, depending on developers of the Heinz, parking. I mean, people complain about parking downtown and everything, and the parking garage is a block away. Possibly some private parking for those occupants.
Let's talk more about the South Side, because you mentioned South Side where 6-penny was approval for the old Johnson Pool, but also too a lot of businesses on the South Side. What are you hearing from the business people? Because again, it's like downtown and Del Range, and once we go over the viaduct, it's the South Side, but there are some very matter of fact growing businesses on the South Side. Things that you would like to do to make the South Side better, more recognizable.
I think a lot of it is kind of mimicking what they're doing on the East Side with Saddle Ridge and the Point and stuff like that, and adding some more of those close-knit shops and businesses that bring in not necessarily tourists, but bring in individuals. For example, Ike's Bar down there, the Lamp Lounge has been doing well as well. Some of the things that really have been concerns for businesses is just the lack of leadership and our council members wanting to visit those businesses and making sure that they have a voice to be heard.
Speaking of the South Side very quickly, and let's get into what we were talking about earlier, that, again, a hotbed conversation. Again, we've had our opinions on this, but annexation has been a hotbed issue here in the city of Cheyenne County as well, too, that pretty much it sounds like it's moving forward, that, again, we're going to encompass a lot of these pockets into the city of Cheyenne and get them kind of rewarded here in the city of Cheyenne. Cameron, let's get your take on that. If you are elected to that position, again, things like this happen. Are you for this annexation? Are you against it? Let's talk about that.
Some of them are right inside the ward.
Mm-hmm. My biggest stance on the annexation is, at first I'll commend the city for going out with this volunteer annexation. So a resident can fill out a volunteer that says, hey, I volunteer my property to be annexed into the city and everything. But I think the biggest thing for me is we need to have a clear step plan with the residents. If we're going to annex their property, is a clear what's going to happen, what does that look like, so then that resident knows exactly what, and to where they're not all of a sudden get a letter that, hey, we're voting on your annexation of your property in the next city council meeting. On the issues of safety and everything, fire response, police response, utilities, and even road maintenance. I feel annexation is necessary, because then you don't have that foggy area of, is the county supposed to maintain my road? Is the city supposed to maintain my road? A perfect example was Walterscheid, just next to the Head Start program, the Boys and Girls Club. When I was club director of the Boys and Girls Club, you would drive down Walterscheid and half of it was paved, half of it wasn't. And I would call and say, why? Well, one half is city, one half is county. So depending on which side is paved, that's who was responsible for.
You know, in your situation, if elected, and again, there's 9 of you, including yourself, on the city council, and you have to work with the mayor. Again, in most cases, when you go to a city council meeting, you'll have basically a full 10-0 decision on stuff that is, some resolutions that are brought forward. But your connection to the mayor, how important is it to work with the mayor, or to tell him, hey, no, this is not good for my ward. He may be good for the city, but for Ward 1, it's not good. How do you explain working that working relationship with the mayor?
My biggest thing is continue that working relationship. I mean, and if I think that something's not right for my ward, then I need to voice it, and I need to explain exactly why that's not. Whether I convince the mayor or the other council members of a no vote, and when that vote comes and I say no, I'll explain why it's not good for my ward, why it's not going to benefit my ward. It's only going to benefit X amount.
Now, if elected, you'll jump on the city council, and there's a lot of projects. You know, people do not realize that there's a lot of projects. Maybe at the time that you get elected, some of these resolutions will be in first reading or second reading, but things that you are looking at right now that you have your eye on that is good for the city as well as Ward 1, some of the things that you're up to date on.
Biggest thing has been the annexation, and also the construction of the fire stations, and everything, and then also the police department, making sure the police department is fully staffed, and then seeing some of these projects on the 6 penny, and seeing how that money flow is coming in, and making sure that those projects are being dealt with in an appropriate manner to make sure we're constituting, inflation and everything, construction costs higher, material costs higher, and then another one is the whole fifth penny tax, and seeing what those projects are going to align and how we're going to prioritize those 5th penny projects.
Something for you, Cameron, again, involving Ward 1 as well. It does at least encompass the Ice and Event Center, where at least we'll kind of get in the athletic department here, again, especially with our passion here on 1480 KRAE, again, where, Ice and Event Center did hold at least a former hockey team, the Cheyenne Stampede, that has been out of business for quite some time. Is that something, a project for you, especially to get another team to occupy that? Again, another at least revenue source for the city of Cheyenne, for, again, also to more entertainment value for the city of Cheyenne back at that Ice and Event Center. Let's get into, that crux of the conversation. What would be your plans with the Ice and Event Center?
I think it needs to be expanded. I know the rec center keeps on getting voted down and everything, and that's one of the things I like to push is, more of a rec center. I mean, LCCC is growing. We're getting a larger college population, a larger younger demographic in Cheyenne and everything, and expanding on the rec center. I mean, right now, I'm a huge basketball guy. There's really nowhere to go play basketball in the city of Cheyenne. Gold's Gym has a small half court and everything. And you have Holiday Park, and you have a couple other outdoor basketball courts, but everybody knows Wyoming in the winter and spring, you really can't go. And just expanding on the Ice and Event Center, having some more pickleball courts, having some tennis courts, having some outdoor sand pits for sand volleyball, and everything. I think that utilization of that area right there could be huge for Cheyenne.
Also, too, again, in Ward 1 Pioneer Park, also, too, again, has had some renovations, some updates out there. And, again, we do know the Cheyenne Hawks do play a couple, these occasional baseball games, does host a few tournaments here in Cheyenne. But something I want to ask you, Cameron, where, again, we've been kind of kept abreast of at least that Independence League baseball, collegiate baseball, returning back to Cheyenne, or at least trying to. Where would be your thought if you were at least a member on that city council of trying to bring in collegiate baseball, or again, other at least athletic opportunities, as, again, we see arena football up in Gillette, or we see, again, hockey around this entire state. Would you be one of those proponents to see if we can get more athletic teams or more leagues into Cheyenne to kind of help grow this area?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think also investing in our current athletic programs. I mean, we have Wyco baseball, we have Post 6, we have the Pirates that actually just won another championship and everything, and that's something that a lot of people don't know, that we have the Pirates here. We have the Mustangs, Cheyenne Mustangs, and our softball programs. One of the things that I like to do is, if elected, is see what we can do to put some money, more money into Parks and Rec to establish better facilities for our youth sports and everything. When I play City League softball in the summertime, and our softball fields are kind of in rough shape and everything, and I want to help build that. But I would love for a semi-pro football team. I mean, we're on the front range of northern Colorado and everything, and we have access to those types of teams and facilities and everything.
All right, Cameron, well, as we do with all our candidates, we're going to give you one last shot at it here to the electorate out that is listening and viewing today. And to that electorate, we give you that open mic. There's no red lights flashing saying you got 1 minute to go. Go ahead and give us your best campaign speech and let the folks know why they should vote for Cameron Karajanis for City Council Ward 1.
Definitely. So one of the biggest things, my professional background is in the nonprofit field and for-profit. I'm the only candidate that has grant writing experience. I'm the only candidate that has multiple volunteer opportunities with the DDA, Cheyenne Police Department. I was the chair for the Economic Restructuring Committee for the DDA. I was also on the police department's parking. When the police department took over the parking for downtown, I was on that committee. I serve as a CFD volunteer for the public relations. For my nonprofit, I've been the club director for the Boys and Girls Club. I'm currently the assistant director for the community shelter here in Cheyenne. I have also worked in juvenile justice at NSI Academy up in Sheridan for many years, along with my coaching. I was a women's basketball assistant coach at Sheridan College for a few years. Currently the assistant women's basketball coach at Pine Bluffs and the 7th grade football coach here at McCormick. And so I would say my biggest attributes are I'm a well-rounded candidate for the city of Cheyenne. I have my foot in multiple aspects of decision-making that will prove to be the leadership that Ward 1 needs. I'll also, me being my age, young, I am a go-getter, and I'll be there for the people of Ward 1 as well as the whole community, and making sure that the leadership and the focus in Ward 1 is finally back in city council.
Fresh and young blood is
Well,
what we
it definitely
need.
doesn't have any time to sit down and watch any TV. This guy is going 24/7, and that's, I think, what the city would like.
Yeah.
Somebody that is going to be at the beckoning call.
Final thing for you, Cameron. Again, we appreciate you coming in and talking and giving at least your side of the story for folks to at least vote you in for at least city council representative in Ward 1. If folks have any information, or at least if they're looking for any information or want to reach out to you, social media, website, or an email, phone number, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you or find out more information?
Yeah, definitely. So if people can go on Facebook at Karajanis for Cheyenne, or I do have a email. It's Karajanis, the number 4, Cheyenne @gmail.com, and then also my cell phone, just like on my Facebook and on the campaign page, is 307-220-3150. And that is my personal cell phone, so that way people can reach me on a personal level.
All right, Cameron Karajanis joining us here on 1480 KRAE, again running for City Council Ward 1. 3 weeks and a day until Election Day, and again, it's a nonpartisan, so again, don't have to worry about a DR or an I by the name. Just get out there and vote for the best candidate that you feel that will represent the city. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get ready to wrap things up here for today's program. KRAE Reports, we can review back after these words.
For over 30 years and still delivering the results you expect is Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service. Larry Prolity again for cars in downtown Cheyenne, reminding you that John and his staff are there to take care of your vehicle's woes. From an oil change and replacing windshield wipers to digging deep into fixing your heating and your air conditioning unit, or fixing your brakes and shocks, you can depend on Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service for taking care of most minor repairs. And most importantly, John is a TechNet professional, which says he is one of the best nationally when it comes to getting your car or truck back on the road as soon as possible. Check it out online, technetprofessional.com. Don't wait till the last minute. Have your vehicle serviced by one of the best in Cheyenne. Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service at 604 West Lincoln Way. Call for an appointment at 307-632-0498. Open Monday through Friday. Your local hometown bank, First Year Bank, invites you to come celebrate the first anniversary of their downtown branch at 18th and Cary. And during the anniversary celebration, come to either branch at 1508 Stillwater Avenue or downtown and enjoy some coffee and cookies. First Year Bank is still offering the best CD rates around on a wide variety of CD products. So talk with Caitlin, Amy, and Lavana today. And for all your commercial lending needs, let Tim, Tad, Stacy, and Spencer hook you up to suit your business needs. First Year Bank, 1508 Stillwater Avenue. And now celebrating their second branch's one-year anniversary at 18th and Cary. We want to be your bank. Member FDIC.
Hop into the KRAE Time Machine each Monday through Thursday for the golden age of radio, featuring famous radio classics such as Jack Armstrong and Suspense Theater, along with pioneers in the entertainment industry like Bob Hope and Abbott and Costello, along with many other performers who've captured our ears many, many years ago. Join us for the golden age of radio Monday through Thursday, 8 until 10 p.m. on 1480 KRAE, also 101.1 FM, and you can also stream all of our programming on 1480krae.com.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these super radio buys heard only right here. Don Julio's 70th Anniversary Blanco Tequila, 750 milliliter bottle, $69.99. St. Brendan's Irish Cream Liqueur, 1.75 liter bottle, $24.99. And Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer, 24-pack, 12-ounce can, $16.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The coin shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The Coin Shop, a dealer you can trust, 510 West 16th Street.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
For today, sunshine expected, daytime high near 61. Tonight it's going to be a clear sky, low down to 30 degrees with widespread frost developing during the early morning hours. Tomorrow, Tuesday, sunshine once again. We're calling for a daytime high near 65. And for Tuesday night, a clear night, our low down to 38 degrees. KRAE reports a week in review. I'm Larry Proetti, along with Nick Proetti, and again from the Cowboy State Daily. Thank you to our good friends at the Cowboy State Daily, providing us with some of these stories that we definitely want to keep up on, and as well too, this is part of the Tribune Eagle as well. Residents informed legislators Friday morning that they have witnessed and heard of local election fraud throughout the state. Again, a trend that we hear nationwide, Nick. I mean, it's just not in the state of Wyoming. And again, I have to agree with one Cheyenne resident who said, we need to go back to paper ballot and an ink pen. Again, we have machines.
Granted, that could be fake too at a point in time. I mean, anything can be fake to replicate.
But let me say this: with today's technology, and again with the hackers out there, whether it's U.S. abroad, I don't care. People can get into these machines. Again, that's why you buy all these protections, right?
You can have people meddling in and just messing with, with paper ballots. Again, they can open up a box. Again, go back. I think it was to that Georgia election, at least for the general election between Biden and Trump. Again, Georgia was on blast, or at least the city of Atlanta, for again there were apparently election officials that opened up those boxes and meddled with a few of the mail-in ballots.
So where's election fraud coming from? Is it coming from?
It's from everywhere.
Well, again, how do you? So
I'm just saying with elections and just with this being a hotbed conversation. Again, there's no perfect system. Clearly, again, the perfect system was supposed to be electronic, but again, obviously that has its flaws. There could be glitches in the system. There could be hacks. There could be this and that. But even with the paper ballots, if you go back the old school way, again, there's ways for people to meddle in that and alter those results. Again, there's no perfect system. But again, this whole election fraud, which again, even on at least a nationwide stance, really hasn't been proven true. It's been alleged many a time. Again, going back to the Russia hacks, to again, even here in the States, of people meddling with the ballots. again, nothing has really been proven true to an extent, or at least there hasn't been definitive evidence and said, hey, here, this is what's happened. But here in the state of Wyoming, it's been called for, whether it was a primary, it'll probably be called for in the general election. The Wyoming State Legislature right now is trying to pass a few bills to make sure, or at least try to find some preventive ways against this, at least election fraud situation. But like I said, there's always going to be at least some sort of call out for fraud. You're going to have officials that lose their elections that will use this term now because, again, that's the trendy thing to do now of, hey, I lost, it's election fraud. Or, hey, my candidate didn't win, election fraud. It's an ugly thing right now in politics that hopefully, again, I don't think it'll ever go away, but it's something that it needs to go away because, especially here in the state of Wyoming, and as we talk about our local, at least, elections for, again, Laramie County Sheriff or, again, City Council, is there going to be election fraud in those?
Don't know.
No. I highly doubt it.
No, I would say no. Let me just say that. But in today's world, we don't know anymore. That's just it. So again,
Yeah, okay, then I throw it in your lap. What do we do to prevent it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Do you go?
Because again, there's going to be no perfect system where there's going to be that individual. Again, there is no perfect system. There's going to be that individual that tries to hack in. That's going to try and meddle with the mail-in ballots. Or if you go back to the paper, they're going to be someone that's going to try to open up those lock boxes and alter, or again, add more votes. Again, look at what we've seen over the past couple. Again, granted, it's probably been going on for quite a few decades at this point in time. Look at the voting situations of where we have registered voters who are well past dead who are still voting in these elections. Again, you have situations like that where, again, people are trying to fraud you on that side of things. Again, there's going to be no perfect election ever because, again, there's always going to be that entity or that individual or that system that's going to have a glitch in it.
Well, here's my opinion, and you take it for what it's worth. My opinion is we go back to absentee ballots for those that will not be in the area, military most importantly.
Yeah.
Absentee ballots for them.
Older folks that can't.
And stop this early voting crap. You vote on election day. That's why they have election day. It's not election night, or election the day before, or you allow ballots to come in a day or two after. It's election day. I want to know on November 8th, sometime at 9, 10 o'clock, how my candidates did here locally or throughout the state, or, how they are vying for national public office. The point is, absentee ballots, mail them out on a certain day, or, they're mailed out at a certain time, need to be back in before this time.
And I don't believe that at least early voting is the issue for fraud or anything. Like I said, again, you've had fraud even without this early voting situation. Again, at least that's kind of sprung up, at least because of the, at least pandemic situation. But again, even on election day, we've had accounts and we've had accusations of election fraud. Again, it's been going on. This is not a 2000s thing. It feels like it's been going on for quite a few decades at this point in time. And all you can do, and again, for legislators, and again, I think what this truly could be, and again, if I analyze this, in my mind, in my opinion, this feels like it's coming from the politicians more than anything. That's now kind of spewed into, again, average Joe American citizen right now to believe that there are election fraud, where, again, I think it's just a lot of these elected officials that are kind of crying wolf because, oh, woe is me, I didn't get enough votes or I got voted out. I feel like that's a good majority or
and
reason.
That's true.
Again, I think plain and simple is a lot of these officials that didn't get that vote that are crying wolf, going, oh, something's wrong here.
But also,
I should be in.
But also, too, on the other side of that coin, you have elected officials, Laramie County Clerk, Secretary of State. These people have to oversee these ballots, these election results. But also, too, think about it again. When I voted in the primary, they wanted to see my driver's license. So we have to make sure that, again, I think Wyoming's got a good system? Yeah, I do. But they wanted to see my driver's license, wanted to make sure I still lived there, wanted to make sure I was still with the political party I was with, gave me my ballot, boom, I voted. Some places,
and again,
and some places are a little more lax.
Yeah,
and that's with the mail-ins.
There's also too, again, there's accounts even here in Cheyenne, and I think during the primary where controversy was, if I stand corrected, I do believe one pollster was at least sent home early, where again there was a line of folks still waiting, and I do believe that was the primary where again sent home early, where folks were still waiting in line to vote. Again, situations like that could happen where, again, who knows what was going on with that pollster, or, again, who was watching those ballots, where, again, maybe medical emergency or this or that. But, again, it starts brewing these controversies, these conspiracies where there might be no meat to that bone that, again, that person probably just got sent home early because they needed to go home early, or again, emergency happens. Life happens even on election day. But, again, this election fraud, which, again, is now the trendy thing to bring up and talk about over the past couple of years now, I think it just stems more so from our candidates that are kind of brainwashing you to think, oh, something nefarious is going on. And, again, it absolutely is. But I don't think it's as big or as widespread or as actually altering elections in a massive way.
The system is not perfect.
Especially here in the state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
Let's make that at least point. Again, do I think that, again, what happened with Harriet Hageman versus Liz Cheney, was that election fraud, that, again, more folks went to Harriet Hageman? No, I think that was on purpose. A lot of folks citizens in the state did not like Liz Cheney and, again, voted the other way. Again, governorship, even with the city council, I wholeheartedly believe that, again, yeah, there are folks that are going to cheat the system, try to, but I don't think it's enough to sway votes or at least alter things.
No, and I think I think here in our state the system has been pretty good. Again, when I saw the story, I kind of laughed a little bit, going, Wyoming? No, I don't think so.
But again, you're seeing candidates, and it's not even just at least out of here in Cheyenne, but again, you're starting to see state legislators cry wolf on this situation and looking to at least go to the state legislator and say, hey, we need to alter this or at least find a way to improve it, where, again, you can try to improve it, and there are probably ways to do it, again, above our heads and above our pay scale at this point in time. But, again, there's going to be no perfect system, but I don't think election fraud is the biggest issue facing our country.
I think the deal is with the 48 contiguous U.S. states, Alaska and Hawaii, everything should be on par. And what I mean by that is, to register to vote, you go through this process. To actually vote, you need to go through this process. And it's got to be the same system for all states.
Because I can't even remember how it went for the state of Nevada, where I don't even think I signed up through the state of Nevada. It was just through, I think, like the Libertarian Party of Nevada, and they just went, here you go, here's your card, and that's all you need to show at least for election day in the state of Nevada.
And again, too, I have no problem with them asking me for my license, and then, boom, give me my ballot, and I go vote.
And in Nevada, you didn't.
But see, again, there's so many different ways to vote. And again, absentee.
Which, again, I don't think that's also an issue. Why not have that option? Or, again, there are those circumstances for folks that, again, cannot leave their house. They're still citizens. They still have the right to vote.
I understand that too, Nick, and I don't have a problem with that. They should be allowed to vote too on an absentee. But the early voting, what's to say that you and me work in the in the elections office, and we got a box full of election voters that came in that day? What's to say that you and me hide it or put it away somewhere else?
Well, that's where, again, hopefully you would have people at least above them or in positions to make sure that that is not happening.
Well,
so again,
obviously,
and that goes back into where
it's
the
not 24/7.
possibility of fraud absolutely could happen. But again, I think there are those in those positions that are not doing stuff like that, or trying to at least change an election.
See, here's the deal.
I don't know.
Here's the deal. Absentee ballots, to me, absentee ballots should be open that day. Okay? When the polls close at 7 o'clock, absentees should be the first thing counted. At 7 p.m. or 7:01 p.m. And they should not be allowed to trickle in the next day. I'm sorry that you're in Malaysia, but you knew when to get this ballot in. It's your own fault. Okay? That should be.
We've seen how again mail systems and stuff.
I don't care. The point is, if it's not in by election day, say November 8th, it comes in November 9th or 10th, it's got to be dismissed. That's my opinion.
I think that's fair, yeah.
You know, because you know when election day is. Because you got your ballot a month ago. And
yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Again, anything post election day again should not be counted without a doubt. That kind of stems on the voter again diligence of again the mailing system, how it works, again how long it could take. Be at least prompt and early on that again, or at least find a way to make sure that your vote gets in. I would agree. Yeah,
and some of these other knucklehead states allow a week.
Which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely horrid.
Which I think that does call for a potential of fraud, or at least could be again altering elections. But like I said, I don't think it's an issue without a doubt, and we've seen those accusations, we've seen that evidence. But is it enough, in my opinion, especially regarding state elections, especially here in the state of Wyoming? It happens, yeah, without a doubt here in the state of Wyoming. But is it enough to alter, city elections to state elections? I don't think so. I don't think it's enough.
Well,
I honestly don't think that. Again, it was a fluke that Hageman got past the primary. I don't think it's a fluke that Brian Kozak is on the Republican side past the primary for Laramie County Sheriff. That again, you have your top two candidates for the city council. I don't think those were flukes or anything. I think it was votes counted, and that's how it went.
And again, I go by the Constitution because I hear this a lot from people saying, well, my vote doesn't make a difference. The hell it doesn't. And again, too, and again,
we saw that with the past two presidential elections.
Yeah, and again, too, again, there's got to be one system in place. You can't have 50 different systems. And again, like I said, me personally, you got two options. Absentee one, got to be open on election day, 7:01 p.m. or when the polls close, and you go to your polling place. That's it. I don't want anything in between anymore, because what's in between, Nick, is what's causing all the problems.
I don't think so.
Again,
we've had problems even before these systems existed. We've had problems before technology was implemented. If anything, hell, you would hope that technology would be at least preventative of something like this, especially where, again, you can hopefully, look down of saying who's voted. Okay, cool, that's it. That name should never show up again. We can look at death records and go, okay, cool.
Well, back in the day, I understand, like a truck broke down from Pine Bluffs to Cheyenne many years ago for an election. Okay, and that delayed the final numbers in a county type of situation.
Yeah.
But again, a system has to be put in place. The Constitution, again, one person, one vote, one man, one vote, unfortunately, the Constitution. But the thing is, you just can't have 5 different things going around, because in this metro area, they're doing it one way. In Cheyenne, Wyoming, or the state of Wyoming, we're doing it another way. In California, they've got their own way of doing, elections.
So
come on,
that state has its right.
But let me say this: we are the United States. Why can't we come together on a system that would work?
That comes
for
out
everybody?
from the Fed, and guess what? Again, what Joe Biden would send down here, or again, what Congress would send down here, not every state's going to agree upon. So again, guess what? You're stopped right there at square one of that. Again,
but
not all 50 states are going to agree.
And I'm sorry, and if you're in the political power range of Democrat running the country, Democrat Congress, Democrat running the Senate right now, and they come down with a certain policy, that's the checks and balances. I'd have to abide by it. But again, nobody's come up with that idea or go back to tradition. And tradition.
I don't think to move forward, you don't go backwards. So again, going back to paper ballots, I think is a stupid thing. And like I said, you would hope that, again, with technology implemented, again, yes, there are ways to hack it. I get it. there's ways to hack your smartphone right now. There's ways to hack the laptops. There's ways, again, everything is vulnerable because, again, the hackers are moving that much faster, again, that step forward. But, again, virus systems, or, again, you're seeing with the FBI, with the CIA, hey, they're trying to implement that. Again, we're trying to avoid those hacks within at least United States borders. So, like I said, ideally, technology, at least these booths, these electronic booths, should be the way to do it. Just to, again, monitor names, monitor, again, who's been in there, again, have the accurate count and all that good stuff. But, you know, like I said, there's not gonna be that perfect system ever. But this cry of wolf of election fraud has got to go away sometime, because it's going to burn someone at least eventually down the line. Or when that, and again, similar of what I kind of outcry with the pandemic, when that true pandemic happens, where, again, we're seeing millions of people killed off, you're going to have those folks that go, you cried wolf with that pandemic, nothing happened. What's so bad about this one? It's going to be the same situation where, again, in the election fraud, we're calling it for it left and right now during these elections, again, even on the state side. But when it truly happens, when, again, it's affecting a large-scale election, or, again, we'll say governorship, we'll say presidency, we'll talk Congress, whatever it may be, when that truly happens, how many folks are going to be out there and go, I don't believe you. I think that's the right result because you called election fraud for every other election.
Well, you know, whether you are a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, I don't care, whatever political party. Again, as long as I have been voting, which goes back to, let's see, when did I turn? About 74. You look at elections, and again, back for me when I first started, it was only absentee, only on election day. There was nothing in between. I think what you got to do in a lot of these cases is remove the fat, and I think the fat is in between. You do it one way, hey, because this way you can't mess up on absentee.
You probably could.
I
guarantee you can mess up anyway.
You could steal, yeah, but I'm just saying.
Guaranteed.
But that was probably effective. I think the early voting, well, all right, if you want to dismiss absentee, let's do that. Let's dismiss absentee and early voting. Now, again, for those in our military that are currently serving overseas, how they vote, I don't know, because they have to vote absentee. But if you want to keep early voting, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote on election day. So as long as I'm able to, I'm voting on election day. But I'm just telling you, one of these two has to go, in my opinion. I'm one that says keep the absentee, dismiss early voting.
And I say give folks the options that they have, because, again, it's obviously you want to encourage folks to get out there to vote. And, again, there are special circumstances for folks that, again, can't be there for whatever XYZ reason. Give them that right, because, again, you have that right to vote. So, again, I don't think that's the inherent issue. It's more of, again, folks that are, again, cheating the system or trying to, again, whether it's on the back end, adding votes, this or that. Like I said, there's no perfect system. Again, go back to the 2000 election. Folks outcried that, again, they were confused by the punch holes in Florida.
The Chads.
Yeah, so...
let me ask you this question. And, again, you're smart on computers. You're far above me as far as technology. And, again, I could even ask our IT guy, Lanny, the same question. So you do early voting, right?
Yeah.
It's stored in a computer, right?
You would assume.
Okay. So what's to say that between, say you voted today, because I think early voting's on now, but you voted today, what's to say that I'm a hacker from wherever I'm at, what's to say I can get into our system tonight?
Oh, yeah,
change
you could. Again, that's where you would hope that
that's why
we have enough, at least on the back end, to prevent that. But, again, I'll give you the scenario again. If you have paper ballots, what says people don't just have the lock and key and just go, cool, I'm going to trash some of these votes, or I'm going to alter it or add new votes in or something like that. Again,
all right, so you're selling me on that. So, again, here's where I'm at. You're selling me.
That's where, again, you try to have that positive faith and hope that, again, there's preventative measures on the back end, especially with the electronic side, that, again, prevents these entities from getting into your system.
Do you think with electronic voting on election day, is there less of a hassle, less of an ability of a hacker to not cause problems?
I would think so.
So why
I
don't
would hope so.
That would be my first thing. Okay, so you have that on election day. Most of the times, I do believe I've never done absentee ever in my life. I've always voted in person. I would assume that's a paper ballot.
Yeah.
Can you live with the fact that an absentee comes on the paper ballot?
Again.
So,
like I said, I have no issue with any of them, but I'm just saying before you say one system's better than the other, not necessarily.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's what I'm saying. If you give me electronic voting on election day, I'm okay with that. You give me a paper.
There's got to be a way, and again, hopefully we can.
You can't have. As far as I'm concerned, you can't have 3 different systems. You can't have.
Well, I would assume again with the absentee, or again, this is an assumption, but again, without actually seeing what an absentee ballot looks like, but again, could be a similar of what we did back in the day. At least again, I remember math class when I was growing up. Again, you have the Scantrons, where again, you put it in a computer, it reads all your answers. Cool, there it is. You're good. It's something that hopefully with the absentee, where again we tabulate everything into an electronic system, where again, here's a QR code, here's this, here's that. You scan it all one way, or again, you input it, you manually input that thing. Boom, there you go.
And
it's
again,
all into one
where I go with the absentee though, and that's okay. It should not; those envelopes should not be open until 7:01 p.m. election night.
Who says they aren't in some places?
Don't know. Some places do it early. Some of them do them later when they all come in. So that's what I'm saying.
I guess we'll have to get someone in from at least representative.
You can have the Laramie County Clerk. You could have probably the new Secretary of State come in. How is this all done, and how are you going to prevent fraud?
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, we're going to wrap things up for
very
today.
quickly on that. Again, like I said, the state legislator looking into again preventative measures. Again, trying to at least come up with some sort of system. They're trying to pass a few bills right now to at least avoid this. But
you and I had the discussion. There's not a perfect system. I have my way of thinking. You disputed every one of my ways of thinking. So
yeah. So good luck on the legislative side, especially in the state, to see if they come up with anything. That, again, I think they have 4 bills in the works right now for this. So
it's just a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah,
that's all it is. All right, tomorrow let's talk a little sports. Oh, by the way, speaking of sports, Friday. We get to finally get out into extreme eastern Laramie County. We'll be in Pine Bluff, 7 o'clock kickoff. It will be the Hornets and the Southeast Goshen Cyclones. This is for all the marbles.
This is a contest coming up for at least on the east side in Class 1A 9-man. Pine Bluff comes into this contest number 1 ranked team in Class 1A. Southeast number 5 in the polls, at least media poll. This is pretty much for Pine Bluffs are in the driver's seat. They win, they're the number 1 seed heading in the playoffs. They lose, they'll be the number 2 seed. Same with Southeast. Southeast, if they win, they're the number 1 seed. If they lose, they have the number 2 seed. So again, a lot on the line. Both teams guaranteed to at least have 2 home playoff games. But obviously, again, you want that higher seeding to at least more favorable matchup when it goes into the semifinals. So again, this is going to be a fun one. 2 teams that, again, it's a rivalry, and it's going to be a fun one.
You know, you look on the west side, too, just real quick. Team I thought was going to be the team that was going to, steamroll everybody, Wind River. They got beat by the Shoshone Wranglers this week. So for Pine Bluff Southeast, hey, that door looks pretty open right now for a state championship.
But regarding at least tomorrow's show, the pro show here on 1480 KRAE, again, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. As of right now, and I think we'll just cap it at the guests that we have currently. Again, we'll have both men and women's basketball from LCCC head coaches, Dwayne Salisbury for the men's side, Ayanna McWilliams for the women's side. They'll be in studio with us to at least preview the season as they're into their preseason tournaments right now. But again, they're gearing up for the 2022-2023 season. So we'll talk LCCC, men's and women's basketball. And also, too, as we talk high school football, we will have at least the brand manager for wildpreps.com, David Settlin, again, voice of the Laramie Plainsmen as well. Again, Plainsmen have a big contest against Cheyenne South. Folks are saying South are out. South, at least last time I talked with Eli Moody, again, they're still in. They're on the outside looking in of a 3-way tie if they can beat Laramie. So we'll get more information on the 4A playoffs upcoming. Talk about, again, 4A, 2A, 1A, 9-man. Just get his thoughts on high school football.
And mention this, too, because Cheyenne East has Casper Kelly Walsh on Friday. Laramie has defeated Casper Kelly Walsh.
Kelly Walsh's only win is against South. So, again, you
Yeah.
have those two teams with one. If South can beat Laramie, again,
Coin
it would,
flip.
yeah, again,
Three-way coin.
that's the understanding I have. But, again, a lot of folks, including David, have Cheyenne South officially out. So we shall see. Again, at least hopefully South can pull off that victory in the losing streak and get the victory against the Laramie Plainsmen. Again, they'll be on the road coming up Friday night over there at D-Ty Stadium. So, again, polling for the Fighting Bison to get that lone victory and hopefully get them into that 8th seed of the Class 4A playoffs. But, again, we'll have David settle on. We'll talk, again, recap the high school football season, to get his thoughts on everything from all the classifications of surprises and who his favorites are for potential state titles, which, again, especially here in Class 4A, I think right now Cheyenne East is making a good argument.
Yeah, and again, don't discount Cheyenne Central because if they can get this win against Rock Springs,
Which they could and they should.
and on Friday night, they will also be in the driver's seat to host at least one playoff game. But on the other side of the coin, and you look at the teams that would be above them, Natrona, Cheyenne East, and Sheridan, the only team that they did not do well against was Cheyenne East. They lost by 11.
Yeah.
But if they do have, if it goes according to Hoyle 1, 2, 3, 4, they would have Sheridan, and they only lost by 3 to Sheridan.
And we'll talk more about this again tomorrow. The Pro Show here live on 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480KRAE.com on the audio side. Video live streaming as we do on the 1480KRAE YouTube channel. Again, as we mentioned, all those teams as well, too. Again, very quickly, Class 2A. Burns, I think, is committed to the playoffs. I think they're officially in.
Yep.
They're, I think, as best they can do is a 3 seed. But, again, Burns back into the playoffs. So, again, congrats to them.
4 out of 5, not too bad here in Laramie County that will be in postseason play, as we know of right now.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to wrap things up. We do want to thank again our first guest, Jeff Barnes, who is running as an independent candidate for Laramie County Sheriff. Most recently, Cameron Karajanis, who is running for City Council Ward 1. Thank you to both those gentlemen for dropping by and chatting with us today on KRAE Report so we can review. For Nick Perotti, I'm Larry Perotti. Good afternoon.